It's not just us. That's pretty much what that means.
It's not just us.
Hmm.
That is that is perfect. Thank God
Yeah.
for once.
So yeah, so the latest news, right? It's France.
France.
Yep, the Olympics are coming up at the end of July. Side note, Kelly Clarkson, I think, is one of the hosts of like whatever network, and I'm very excited. I really like Kelly Clarkson. But other than that, their political system is in shambles, and they make us look good right now.
I mean, well, do they though? Because now you have the Trump supporters coming out and saying that it was, of course, rigged and they cheated, and there's now that narrative again.
Yeah,
Because
which bit was rigged is the question.
right, exactly. We don't have a winner yet. We
Yeah,
don't. We only have like one. We have one loser, right?
right.
We have a loser, but we
Yep,
don't have. They had what 200 candidates decide. Nope, we're good. We're out
yep,
right before the election.
yep,
Two, 200 candidates, by the way.
yep.
Could you
I
imagine?
I actually heard, so I was driving home late last night, and at 4 a.m., actually, that's what time I got in. So I think 12 o'clock, I was listening to uh, BBC World News, and I heard them interviewing one of the candidates that stepped back.
Hmm.
And it was actually interesting. It was a little tough to hear the audio, so I didn't really catch all of it for whatever reason, but he was going on about how he was glad to do it because it means that his party is going to I think he was the left side, so he was happily stepping back. His party needed him to do it, and it was for the best and for the vision and so on and so forth. And I was like, wow, you don't really hear that much, so that was interesting. And
Well,
then
contrary to what we got, to on Monday from Biden, right?
yeah,
I'm not
stepping
bowing
back.
out. Our vision is clear, and I am the candidate,
Hmm.
and we will win. I will beat Trump, and we will beat Trump. So,
Yep.
contrary to Biden's vision,
It's amazingly though, like it's the same story, different players, like
right?
wherever you go,
Much
because
younger
really,
players too.
yeah, well, yeah. Did you see I think the guy that was running was 28, the guy that
Yeah.
was and he was the Conservative Party, was 28 years old. And I was like, he looks 28. Like
Well,
it's trippy, that someone that young, and I'm like, oh, he's clearly smarter than me. I mean, he lost, I
we have
guess,
a
but
35-year-old that was trying to resign, and they're like, wait a minute, nope,
right,
hold
right.
on, we don't think you can yet. Just pause on that on that resignation,
It,
actually.
just a few weeks before the Olympics, all of this is going down, and he's like, "Hands up, I'm out. Like, I
Yeah.
gotta go. Like, it's not gonna work." I think it's good that actually, I cannot say President Macron. I think it's good that he rejected it.
Right. It's
I mean, how
interesting.
can you? How can you? No, you need to stay and finish the job just because it's very difficult right now.
Inconvenient.
Yeah, right.
I
So
mean, I do give it to the French for, right before the Olympics. At least it's a political shit show instead of the usual that we get right before the Olympics, right? Where it's, usually the poor people don't have any food. There's animals running
right,
the streets being
right.
slaughtered, and the town's in crumbles,
Yeah,
and it's usually
yeah.
that narrative, right?
Yeah, so
Now
we
it's
should
just
actually step up, I guess.
right. It's just usually now it's the government. The
It's
government's in crumbles.
politics as usual, literally,
Right,
right? It's
right.
the same old
Yeah.
story. Yep.
Instead of the whole city in shambles, it's the government.
Right, exactly. No, I think it's interesting though. I actually wanted to start with this one because it really is the same story. And then I heard something, I don't know enough to speak on it, but was hearing some interesting information about, you know, not riots, but some like activism going on in Germany, which they do not have the same First Amendment speech rights that we do. So
Right.
listening
Well, a lot of
to
Europe doesn't.
no, they don't, and it becomes clear when you start kind of paying a little
Hmm.
bit more attention, which I try not to do, but I guess now I have to.
Well, I
So
mean, if you think about like Denmark, for instance, Denmark constantly comes in as one of the countries with like the nicest countries to live. They're the happiest, but they have literally a list of names you're allowed to name your children, and you
you told
cannot
me this.
sway from that list.
Yeah, you told me this years ago. I
Yeah.
find that to be incredible. Can you imagine? I mean,
Could you imagine?
I literally can't. No. No.
No, Mabel says today, my daughter, she's like, I have a really unique name and everyone can remember it. I'm like, exactly. But if we lived in, say, Denmark, you might not be able to have had that name. Like,
Right. Right. Do you
but
remember? I know you looked at it. Do you remember any of the names on the list?
I don't, but I could look it up. I mean, they're all common, like, Hans, Christian. It's all the common,
Oh,
the
okay.
common names.
Oh, I'm just curious. I wonder if, I
Yeah.
mean,
Christine,
I don't
Lars.
know how big that list is. Like,
It's
remember when
not.
like you go to school and everybody inadvertently has the same name just because it was
Yes, I
trendy at the
hated it.
time,
I
right?
was one of
Rachel,
them.
right? Rachel.
Yes, I was one of them.
Yeah, I think my whole sphere of friends is Rachel's. It's you. It's not a big sphere, to be honest with you. It's you, my sister Rachel. Like growing up, I had a good friend named Rachel. Like everybody in my world was Rachel's.
It was Rachel, it was Ashley, it was Kristen, it was Katie,
Yep.
it was, and then you had for the boys, Matthew, Michael,
Yep.
Marcus,
The boy names were
Jonathan.
more boring. To
Yeah,
be
oh, for
honest,
sure.
they're
No, they
still
were.
harder. They're still
Well,
harder.
they were more like biblical and
Yeah.
safe. Far more
Yeah.
safe.
Yeah.
Far more safe. Yeah.
And I'm gonna throw this out there to the world. I think we have like what, maybe 5-6 people who are listening to us now.
Mm.
So has
Yeah.
anybody heard the song 27 Jennifers? Because I go around my entire life. How does no one know this song? Look it up. 27 Jennifers. It's from back in the day, like I guess in the 90s. I don't know when it was, but it's like my favorite song and I sing it all the time. And because everybody had the same name and it's the perfect song. So please, someone look it up and share in my joy.
Well, maybe we'll make it our theme song. And
There
we'll
you
just change it
go.
to 27 Rachels and Mollies.
There you go. It was 27 Rachels. It's not a lot of Mollys.
We can make it happen.
Yeah, well, okay.
Do
like
we?
it.
I don't know that we need 27 Rachels or Mollies, though.
No. The world's
And
not ready.
anyway, we digress. Back to France.
Back to France.
We don't need 27 Frances either. We might need one government, though.
Yeah.
We need one solid winner, I guess, of the election.
Yep. Yeah, they're a hot mess. I mean, I'd like to see how they're going to wrap it up. I think it was interesting. I didn't know a lot about like France's politics until
I don't think they do
recently.
either.
Yeah.
I think that's the problem because they're trying, it seems like, to form a new government, but they don't know what they're doing or what government they want or how to do it or where to go with it.
Right. Well, and so I think it's interesting that they have 2 votes. So like the first vote is like, this is what it could be. And then everybody freaks out and they go, no, we don't want that, and then they go and do what they actually want. So it ended up, the first round was more conservative, right? The voting, the whole voting outcome was more conservative. Then the next round, it was a little more centered, which is what Macron is. He's more of like a left center, I think he is. So now, of course, that's why everyone's saying it was rigged. But, it was like, ooh, close call. Now everybody actually goes out and votes. Like maybe that's a good way to get people to actually go out and vote, right? Like this is what we could have. So be there next time.
And wouldn't it be interesting? It wouldn't happen. But wouldn't it be interesting if then our election kind of mimicked that? Because no one is happy with Trump or Biden as the candidates. So we do have RFK and we have Jill Stein. So in theory, we could have a third party.
Right. Well,
it won't happen this election because we're too scared.
Right.
For it to happen.
But this could be the tipping point,
It could be. And if France pulls it off, maybe.
Right.
Maybe the millennials will take over and say, all right, we got this.
That's right. Or I mean, we're millennials, like, so the people below us.
We're the elder millennials.
I don't love that. I'm just gonna
whatever. Well, there are far worse terms for it.
Yeah,
I prefer the elder millennial.
Okay, well, what is the generation behind us? Do you know what that's called?
Are they the Generation Y, or is that the same one as us? I don't remember.
I don't know. I have absolutely no clue.
Yeah,
but maybe they'll do it because I don't think we'll do it. I think we're ingrained. Like
That's what I mean. I don't think we will either. That's why I don't think it will happen. It definitely won't happen this election, even though we're very miserable. We're unhappy. We like to complain. We want to bitch and moan, and we don't like the candidates.
Right.
We're not going to follow suit with France. It's just not going to happen.
No. But it's interesting.
Would be interesting.
And I think that's kind of cool. You know, you go out the first time, you see what it could be
Yeah.
like, and then everybody kind of gets motivated. And the thing that I liked when I was listening to the BBC interview that I listened to, I could hear the interviewer very clearly. The other guy had like a not such a great connection, or at least maybe it was my car. So the interviewer was asking him, and he was a leftist, guy. So he said, well, what do you want to say to the people that don't want a far right government, but they don't want a far left government either? And I thought that was fun because
Mm-hmm.
we don't talk about that here
Right.
much at all. Like, center is good sometimes, right? Sometimes when there's things going on, certain things, we might need a little more of one or a little more of the other. But like, that was a great question. I don't hear our media asking that question.
Well, and isn't this kind of happening because they were trying a dual government too? They were trying, in theory, to work together on both sides, and that wasn't happening either.
Right. Which, again, same story everywhere.
Right. Well,
Yep.
we're not trying in the United States to work together. We are the polar opposite, actually. We are trying to tear each other apart and not work together at all. I mean, we have the Republican National Convention coming up, and there are signs coming up, tearing each side apart. We're not trying to work together. And when will we? Who knows?
I'll be honest with you. I don't know if we're not trying. Not that we're trying to work together. You can't see my hand motion. This is trippy. I'm talking with my hands and you can't see it, so I'm just wobbling around. So you okay, I'm not saying that we're working together. Clearly we're not working together. And if we were doing a real bad job of it. But I think it's just the candidates, the people, the people among us that are not working, they're only working for themselves. So even when they're up against, a Democrat up against another Democrat, or a Republican up against a Republican, even on the local level, like the mudslinging, is like constant. I am like I said last episode, I'm following some of these local officials, and I'm looking at these names that they're throwing around, like this person, and I'm like, you know what? I don't want to hear what you're not going to do. I want to hear what you're going to do. And I don't really want you to speak to somebody else's character. I'd really just like you to perform your job function the way that you say you're going to do it. Because telling me that they're not good isn't really making you good, And
right.
So
and ultimately, it's still showing you in a bad light as well.
Exactly.
Because you're just being as petty as they are.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. But, so like if we can't work in our own little, Democrats can't work together and say, well, theirs is good, but here's another option, there's no way you can get it to happen Democrat, Republican, or anything in between. It's just not going to happen.
No, absolutely not.
No. So, hey, France is doing what everybody else is doing. The difference
everyone wants to do.
Yeah.
What everyone wants to do, but is too afraid to do, really.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But now's not great timing because they do have the Olympics coming up. That's, that's a big deal. There's a lot of hands on deck.
Is it not great timing or is it perfect timing? Because the eyes are all on France. I mean, to be honest with you, France has been in crumbles for so long.
There's always rioting in the streets, right?
Yeah, we've ignored it.
Yeah.
We ignore it because Paris is wonderful. Paris is the city of love. We love it. But Paris and France has been a terrible, like it's been conflict after conflict after conflict for forever, really.
For hundreds of years, yeah.
For hundreds of years. I mean, that's like their history.
Yeah, right. I feel like it's funny because we actually do take what France does, like historically, like literally historically, going way back, right? We take what France does and we implement it. And then they like just push the envelope like every time, so they're always in like some sort of like social upheaval or unrest. But do you recall, and it wasn't that long ago, I mean maybe 6 months ago, I don't even know, and the story, I just don't think the story got a lot of highlight, but the farmers were throwing or slinging what farmers have available.
The only place that gets play is on TikTok. That's the only place. And why do they want to ban TikTok? Because it's the only place that these things get play.
That's actually funny. So I'm gonna I don't have TikTok, so I don't know what's going on in the TikTok world except for when you send me something or somebody
TikTok.
else. I know, and that's why I can't do it, because I'm like, I don't have any time and I would just get sucked in, so I don't do it. But I got a little bit of what was going on, from like some of the news outlets that I do have available, but I bet you there was a lot more on TikTok because I think that's where people were sending from TikTok.
Right.
But
And then, the news outlets pick it up there and they put it on their blogs and they,
yeah,
share it on their socials, and absolutely. But
yeah,
that's where all the mass media is being shared, is on TikTok. And it's
yeah.
the consumers that are sharing it.
Yep. Yep. Well, I guess I really am an elder millennial because I get
We
my
are.
news a lot from Facebook.
I do too. That is
Yeah.
basically the only reason I am on Facebook, which
Yep.
is a really funny transition because I've been seeing a lot lately, and we weren't even going to talk about this really, but since you brought it up, since we are elder millennials, I guess we should educate people, should we? Should we
Yeah.
educate
Okay.
people?
Yeah.
Like these scams and the sharing of these, missing children, missing dogs, injured animals. Like, it doesn't take much
Mm-hmm.
to educate yourself, right? It doesn't take much to look up a local news article
Mm-hmm.
to see if that child is really missing, to see if there's really a missing dog or whatever, instead of just ultimately sharing
Just
these
nonsense.
stories, because really these ones of the children that are missing, that were missing, that have been found, what you're doing is you're traumatizing the families all over again.
Oh, I never
There's
thought of that. Everybody knows somebody, and you're like, "What are you doing? Stop!" But I know who they are. I won't name them, but I know who they
Can
are,
I?
and I think that part of it is like a little bit naive, and part of it
And
is if I'm wrong, what's
you
the
want to
worst
feel
case?
good.
Right. Well, but the like if it's not accurate, then it's not going to hurt anybody. But if it is accurate, then it's going to be like immensely more helpful than it can be hurtful, which may or may not be true. But like if you're thinking missing child and you're going, well, I'm going to share it just in case it's true so people see it. I think that's a lot what people do, but it's not as helpful as you might think because there's a lot of scams. A lot.
Absolutely. And so one of my friends posted, how you could tell like the scams. And it's pretty it makes total sense. It's like they hashtag the town. Well, yeah, so that way it comes up in your searches, right? They use 2 duplicate photos because they don't have ones readily available.
Right.
They totally take away any ability for you to comment. So that way
Oh,
you
right.
can't comment that it's a scam or
Right.
spam or anything like that, or that it's old news, or the child's been found, or
Right.
the dog isn't really whatever. It's usually, and this is, I've noticed this, it's usually in like a garage sale site on Facebook. It's not on
Right. The
your
appropriate page. Like it's something that
um
is not monitored like really well.
right.
Yeah.
Exactly. They use the format, the dog's hit by a car, they can't find the owner. It's not, just check your local police department, check the newspapers, check your whatever, new
A
TV,
healthy dose of
Google.
skepticism goes a long way,
It's
Just
not
look
hard.
at everything like what's wrong, and then if it's not wrong, great. But like everything you look at, I had a director that told me like look at everything like it's wrong so that you find the flaws, and I'm like I'm gonna do this with my entire life.
I
But
know, it's
no,
like we played Where's Waldo and
yeah,
Tetris far too long to not excel in this.
right,
Okay.
exactly, exactly. Yeah, no, and it actually a few years ago, um someone close to my family had lost their dog. They lost it in Florida when they were on vacation. And it was like this, it was older people. So it was like harder for them to share on Facebook and they, whatever. So I ended up jumping right on and I started sharing this photo and I was like, lost dog. But I was not there. I was in New York. So this dog was lost in wherever on the east coast of Florida. And they were giving me a hard time. Like, this is a scam. There's no street name. And I'm like, I mean, I put it in the post, guys. I don't know the area. I am sharing for somebody else. And I was like, oh, I'm getting roasted here, man. But
No,
they
people are.
cautious.
I mean, I was reading one the other day that actually wasn't a scam, and people were coming for this woman. It was like, you could clearly tell by this profile, and it's like,
Right.
actually, no, you can tell by this one it wasn't a scam, but
Right.
now we are now jumping at everybody. Like, we're
Right.
now not patient and
Keep your healthy dose of skepticism to yourself. You don't have to
right.
tell everybody about it, You can just be nice a little bit too. Just scroll.
Exactly.
Keep scrolling. That's what they say. Keep scrolling. It's fine.
You can be skeptic and pleasant
Yeah,
all at the same
right.
time.
Right, exactly. Discerning. That's a good way to put it. Be discerning. Just
Exactly.
keep scrolling if you're not sure.
It's beautiful
The end. You're
advice.
welcome.